There's a floating candle here. This is great. Weren't they great?
Yeah, they're great.
That's amazing.
That was super. Thank you.
Was
Thank you for doing that.
And a free school?
Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah, it's great. Well, and I got a couple questions for you. And how tight you keep your answers will depend upon how many we can get to.
Is that a hint?
Oh, no, just a warning.
Run-on sentences, yeah? Well, you know me very well.
I do. So, but let's jump right in since we had this great time with the kids from the People's School. Arts education. You've been a super champion. You've given speeches about it. And you're involved in it here in Chicago. And we're really grateful for that. Give us, if you would, some just your thoughts, where it stands, what you're doing next, and why it's important.
You're asking for short answers.
Try haiku.
How about a limerick?
Keep it clean.
No, okay. I think from what Eric said, I'm not going to do the P.T. Barnum version. So he said act together, right? So, and from what you said, I think it's sort of like give together, right? Forefront, so that we can get it together.
Oh.
In order for us to live together. It's not quite a haiku, but so the question is, what do we need in order to live together? I think for community to exist, like we were experiencing with your wonderful family, extended family, you have to have a degree of safety and trust. Because without that, nothing can function. But from there, we need a way to go forward to imagine what it is that we're going forward to, which means we have to have enough hope and curiosity to figure out what we're working for. And my argument for the arts, it's not sort of like, oh, the arts, you must do music, and you must paint, and you must do poetry slams. But I think, that's funny, huh? Okay. But for me, it's all about building a disciplined imagination so we can actually develop the imagination, on the one hand, to be empathetic to the person that is living with you within the family, within your block, within your community, within your school. And on the other side of the imagination is to imagine what it's like to solve different problems. To advance something that we go to school for critical thinking, supposedly, right? We go there, and so you have, on the one hand, critical thinking, and you have empathetic thinking. And guess what? What we know is that people, all of you here, are decision makers in one form or another. And I could see one of the loveliest thing about Don is that you embody critical thinking and empathetic thinking. And that's hard to do because neuroscience tells us that we have two different pathways. One for neural pathways, one for critical thinking, one for empathetic thinking, and the two don't generally work together. So you actually have to oscillate between one and the other. And we know that people who have gone through strokes sometimes lose, let's say, their empathetic thinking. They can still think critically, but then you put them in front of a menu at a restaurant, they don't know what to choose. So in order to be good decisions, You have to have both. And I think everybody's celebrating you today because you've demonstrated that, oscillating form of thinking. That's great. So to put it another way, you could have been Elon Musk saying that we're going to Mars by 2025. But we know that there's 7.3 billion people here, which means that we can't put 7.3 billion people on Mars, even if Stephen Hawking says, we're not going to make it because we're just, too rambunctious a species to be able to get it together and save our planet. So instead of going to Mars, you've decided to stay with the rest of us who don't have the ability to go to Mars. And so we actually have to get it together in order to work it out.
So, as you point out, one of the things that I know you're interested in being here today is that we have several hundred people who think a lot the way you do, that kids are important. It's cultures and understanding cultures is important, and the arts are important. But as we've been saying, and the things that Eric talked about, we know we can't do this alone. None of us can do this, none of our institutions, none of our people. So when you get on stage and collaborate with chamber music, or the Silk Road, or a full symphony orchestra, something special happens. What does it take that we can apply to our own jobs daily to work better together, to think better together, and learn and have better impact on what we try to do?
You're asking me a question as if I'm a wise man and I know something. I think the first thing I have to say is I know very little, but I do know one thing that I've been thinking about, and this is really like in the last week or so, I've been able to articulate it in my head. And this is, I will answer your question, but I'm going to promise to get to it, okay? Promise.
We only have time.
Okay, but let's start with an environmental scan. I think on the environmental scan part, you all know that things are changing around us very quickly. Industries disappear overnight. The tech revolution is not even in the middle of change. It's still at the beginning of change. So I think the way I react to change, the way my children react to change, is sometimes we are fearful because, your life as you know it may have to change. You don't know what's coming down the pike. We don't know how to deal with these changes because we don't have control. And so this is what happens every time a musician goes on stage. It's like, there's the fear. I don't know, you don't seem to have a fear of public speaking.
Oh. Yeah, clearly.
I do, okay? So the thing is, actually, Sally says you're a very good public speaker and that you've saved her,
Oh, yeah.
a number of times. So don't try to do the modesty thing on me.
Okay.
It's not a good thing.
Would you just stick to the question, please?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor. See, he can't take a lot of attention. That's why I'm trying to do this. That's why they're honoring you, because it's kind of like a roast.
It's feeling more and more like that.
So the fear factor. Why is it that we're afraid to speak publicly or to do? Because we're taking a risk. We don't want to make a fool of ourselves. We don't want to kind of be criticized. We don't want to be judged to be unfit for public speaking or playing or whatever. So it's really hard to overcome fear. And sometimes if I can't overcome fear, what do? I'll go on and do things and try to do it so that I don't mess up. And you know what comes out when you do that? Everything sounds really stilted and closed in and dry and pedantic. It's awful. You've all experienced that. from people doing it to you or whatever, So the choice we have is very simple, but it's hard to do. If you love what you are trying to say, either musically or verbally, so much, and you care so much that you love it and you are dying to share that with somebody else. That is, for me, the antidote to the fear that I would experience before getting on stage. So when I go on stage, and so when people say, do you get nervous? I say that to kids. Says, do you get nervous when you go on stage? Raise your hands. Everybody raise it. I raise my hand. But what I then say to them, look, I think of when we go on stage, it's a party. And you're coming to my party, and I'm the host of the party, and we're going to do something really fun. And if something bad happens during the party, I drop the bow, the chicken falls to the floor, basically you do what Julia Child does. You pick it up and says, "Whoop, here it is," and we just go on, and everything goes, it's great. You've just overcome the terrifying moment, which always will happen during, I always love the moment when I knock the glass of wine over and hopefully not spill it on my companions, dress, but only on myself, because then I say, good, the bad stuff is over, I can continue, the pressure's off, I can have fun. But as a society, we have the same choices. We either build walls, because to protect ourselves, which actually ends up being destructive because it decreases efficiency, creativity, or we can build bridges of understanding, bridges that lead to creativity, bridges that lead to empathy, bridges that lead to better communication, all of those things happen. So it's a very simple thing to do, but it's like the New Year's resolution that we all make, on January 1st, and by January 6th, we kind of forget, right? So it's practice, 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 not to get to Orchestra Hall, but to get to the give together, acting together, and getting it together. I think that's
and living together.
And living together. And an example of that. So Forefront, I feel like I'm home because what a great group of people. I mean, what a phenomenal thing to do the name change, right? And then so that it's about the whole community. It's about actually asking, what do people need, right? And it's about saying, okay, how can we survive together? Because it's such a competitive environment for individual organizations in the funding sphere, right? I mean, so to actually find a way so that you could actually join together not only in ideals, but in actually the nitty-gritty, the unsexy stuff to do that actually the infrastructure that can make big things happen if you work out all the infrastructure. And so that you can actually have larger goals that people who deal with those larger problems can understand. You get the vocabulary and you get it going. That's incredible. Paul Schneeweiss at Ingenuity is a great example of that. And I am so grateful for having been invited to be part of this community through Joyce and Judson Green, who have actually helped fund the activities that I've been doing with the Chicago Symphony and the Civic Orchestra, so we can work in the South Side with the Theaster Gates. But what Paul Schneeweiss has done, and I've observed, over the years, going through and the chair of the board of education, so that Mr. Vitale, so that we can do the town hall meetings. They did the town hall meetings. They got through the cultural plan. They got the arts as core curriculum passed, and then now funding. But I wish we could replicate Ingenuity, 100-fold, so we could have that in every city, so that we know where the creative schools are, where the teachers are, what they're doing, and because that's the beginning of the pillar of a metrics that shows incredible value, but has been up until recently harder to measure. And I think that's incredible. And who can do it? Yes.
Oh, you could have done better than that, guy.
Who can do it? Who can do it? Yes.
So, slightly different. Okay. Are you okay? Having the big one, yeah.
Nitroglycerin is acting up a second.
So Eric said, I often ask the questions that nobody wants to ask. I wanted to ask you this for 25 years. You ever play a wrong note?
All the time.
Do you?
I can do that. I'll show you. I mean, I can demonstrate.
And you just
for free.
You just go on. You just go on. Right?
Yeah. You know what? Someone taught me something. When something bad happens, you say 2 words. Oh well. Instead of, you know. And you know what? And you know what you always say to your wife?
Yes, dear.
But try 3 words.
Yes, my dear.
That's pretty good. But you know what will make her love you even more? And I know she's absolutely madly in love with you. Tell me more.
I'm not likely to remember that one. So I have one more question. This is very interesting to me, and sort of on a more personal note about this great crowd we have here. And
yes.
and I want to remind you that several years ago you gave a graduation speech at a decent college in New England.
It was on the small side, was it?
Small liberal arts college.
Yeah.
And what you said to
great physics department.
Small. But
small,
good. Yeah.
but
Enough.
breeds
I finish?
incredible liberal arts, enlightened thinking individuals
What the hell?
who actually go on to serve society. It's unbelievable because the potential of all these undergraduates is not just about the me world of accomplishment. It's about how you can use all your resources and intelligence to actually help people. Now, what is the name of that college?
I didn't write it down. But here's what you said to the graduating class, and I'd love you to expand on this a little bit. You said, think of your voice as your life and live your life as an art form.
Hey, I mean...
Oh, it's self-explanatory.
You said it, right? I mean...
Well, I didn't understand it, so I want you to...
No, but you know what's really interesting? It's like every... Well, the backstory is I had a teacher that said to me when I was 19, says, you haven't found your voice. I'll give you 14 years. And so I kept thinking, what's my voice? What's my voice? Where's my voice? And I think one of the things that some people think they have their voice, and that's great. But for the rest of us, we're constantly, that's a work in progress. Your voice isn't finished until it's finished. Right? So basically, all your life, you're going through stages of understanding what stage you're in. It's not so cool if, as a 60-year-old, I go around and drive like a red convertible and act like I'm 15 years old, for example. I mean, I'd like to, but my wife wouldn't let me. But anyway, the point is, every stage and living your life as an art form means that you are absolutely unique from the get-go. And so if it's adversity, it can become a strength. If you have weaknesses, sometimes weaknesses become strengths. Sometimes strengths become weaknesses. So it's not your CV, or David Brooks would say, it's not your CV, but it's your eulogy that you want to work for. Not to imagine that you're dead, but really sort of what you don't want to have regret. You don't want to have certain regrets at the end of your life. So you make sure that you impact your life at every stage as fully as possible in the stage that you're in. And that's different for everybody. Does that make sense? I mean, I
Yeah.
think isn't that what education is for? Isn't that what, why we try and find the things that we love? And isn't that why we actually do things in our community? Because those things last. Friendships last. Culture lasts. Arts and sciences last, because these are building blocks that if you do something really well, as in chair of, forefront, right? You're trying to leave a brick that's built, that's solid enough so that the next person can put another brick on. But if the brick were not so good, the building's going to fall apart. So you just make sure that, whatever you build, it's on solid, it's solid. And so it's not about excellence, it's just that it's about something deeper than excellence. It's about caring about things that are from before you to something that's after you, but you're doing your absolute best so that it is lasting.
So would, so would you mind playing something more for us?
Yeah, sure. I played already. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking we might do a.
Okay, well, should we do that? Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Nice. Sure.
Bad idea.
Want to do something? No, I like that.
I'll get out of the way.
I love that.
Thank you.
You're great.